Welcome back. Today we dive into the chilling tale of a 3-year pact with the Reaper. Smash that like button and subscribe to support our journey. Now, let us begin. On a fateful night, our heroine gasps for breath as her wicked stepmother, Morgana, watches with a twisted, satisfied grin. Morgana even mocks her stubborn will to survive. How could anyone be this cruel? Beside her stands Tiara, echoing her mother's malice with a sinister giggle at the unfolding tragedy. This mockery burns deeper than the physical agony, freezing her body in place. Stella Crowley, a Marquess's daughter, was born with a fragile body but a noble soul. Confined to the estate, her world was nevertheless filled with her parents' boundless devotion. She loved music, but when her mother passed, her father's smile vanished into shadow. A year ago, light returned to his eyes when he introduced Stella. To this graceless stepmother and her cockroach-like daughter, was he under a spell? Stella stayed silent for her father's sake, prioritizing his fleeting happiness over her own. Then, tragedy struck. Her father died suddenly, leaving Tiara worried about their luxurious lifestyle. Since Stella was the legal heir, their days of gold were numbered. But Morgana merely smirked, whispering a dark assurance to her daughter. Stella was dying, and they planned to seize the entire Crowley estate the moment she expired. Back in the present, our poor heroine weeps in absolute, crushing helplessness. Worse than death is watching these devils mock her fate while she is powerless to act. Tiara whispers that Stella should be glad to reunite with her dead parents soon. They exit, beaming, leaving Stella alone to drown in the injustice of it all. Her body is a cage, barely strong enough to hold a book. Her heritage is being stolen. Coughing blood, she collapses under the weight of this cruelty. She yearns for just a little more time to fight back and experience true love. Suddenly, the impossible happens. A silver-haired man with a black scythe appears, grumbling about his tedious job. Reviewing Stella's tragic file, he notes her life has been nothing but pure misery. He admits even a god wouldn't want to endure such a pathetic existence. As he prepares to claim her soul, Stella's fury suddenly ignites. How dare he insult her? She scolds him for his intrusion and his terrifying weapon. Then, the chilling reality hits. This man is the literal Grim Reaper. She seems more like a defiant angel to me. Surprisingly, the handsome deity looms over her, thrilled that a mortal can actually see him. This isn't a novel. The cold blade at her throat is terrifyingly real. He is captivated by the fiery defiance burning in her dying eyes. Her iron will, even at death's door, is truly mesmerizing. She's entertaining, but duty calls. It is time for her final breath. But Stella's mind races. She refuses to let the curtain fall just yet. She remembers his complaint about boredom and sees a desperate opening. If he rules over death, surely he can grant her a stay of execution. She offers him a deal. 3 more years of life in exchange for entertainment. Why exactly 3 years? Her motives are clear and calculated. At 20, she gains her title, stopping those vultures from stealing her family's legacy. The Reaper freezes, then erupts in laughter at her sheer audacity. Intrigued, he leans in. Boredom is a curse, and she offers a spicy cure. He warns her. Once this blood pact is sealed, there is no turning back. Stella accepts the gamble. Anything to crush those loathsome vermin's plans. To seal their unholy pact, the handsome Reaper reveals his name. Levi. A magic circle ignites as he claims her bloody lips. Survival achieved. Stella wakes to Levi's unsettlingly cheerful face. Her first instinct? A scream to stay away. Levi finds her modesty hilarious after she boldly sold her soul. It's not just his Reaper aura. She thinks that kiss meant love. Oh, this poor innocent lamb is so naive. Levi clarifies it was strictly business, then checks her vital signs. She feels reborn. Power surges as she twirls in newfound health. Bad news, darling. This vitality is merely a temporary borrowed miracle. The curse remains. Without Levi's life force, she'll die within 3 years. Levi closes the distance, his breath cold against her skin. Amuse me, he whispers. Stella recoils, her face burning with embarrassment. This chemistry is absolutely electric, isn't it? Feeling light as air, Stella spots the parasites infesting her patio. An arrogant maid sneers, treating Our Lady like a mere nuisance. She mocks Stella, calling her a fading ghost in her home. Since her father's death, this mansion has been crawling with insects. But the lady of the house has returned with a vengeance. Her fragility is gone. It's time to remind them who's boss. The maid leans in too close. A fatal, foolish mistake. Crack! Stella delivers the most satisfying slap in manhwa history. The maid collapses. Stella's eyes burn with terrifying sovereign authority. Know your place. Never speak without my divine permission again. That look of pure disdain? Absolute queen behavior. I love it. You're fired. The maid stammers, thinking it's a sick joke. Stella's icy glare promises the dungeon next. Silence falls. The villains are paralyzed. This is just the opening act, folks. Back in her room, Levi applauds her magnificent performance. He saw everything. But don't worry, he's her invisible spectator. Suddenly, her strength fails. The price of her deal is calling. Blushing, she touches her lips, knowing the only cure. She leans in to kiss Levi. Even the Reaper looks stunned. When she mentions life force, his shock turns into a smirk. Kiss me to survive. He's definitely enjoying this twisted contract. One kiss isn't enough to satisfy the hunger of her soul. Look at that devious grin. He's playing us like a fiddle. The next morning, the staff is suddenly very efficient. They flee like mice. Fear is a powerful motivator. But Stella didn't expect the rumors to turn so dark. Levi keeps chatting with her, invisible to everyone else, to the world. She's a girl talking to thin air. Whispers of demonic pacts spread. Her reputation is on the line. Levi steps up, transforming into the most handsome butler imaginable. That sleek coat and those gloves are the absolute finishing touch for this look. Stella couldn't help it. Levi was looking dangerously handsome today. Catching her stare, he leans in with a wicked smirk, teasing her until she's forced to look away. Why is this Reaper being so cooperative? Levi hides a dark secret. The true price of their contract is far more than she imagines. His sudden kindness isn't a gift. It's part of a much deeper, lethal game. I have a feeling he will regret this soon. Suddenly, Stella wonders, can his kiss still grant her life force? Even in this human shell? He smirks, drawing closer. Shall we put it to the test? Their tension is shattered. A charming intruder suddenly bursts onto the scene. Stella shoves Levi aside as a knight pulls her into a sudden, frantic embrace. Another handsome rival appears. Jill explains he rushed to her side the moment he heard she was dying. Despite Stella's protests that she's recovered, he won't let her go. He sweeps her up, insisting she rest in bed. With a gentle pat on her head, he demands her obedience. Who is this protective newcomer? Meet Jill Fleet Lancaster, 19 years old and 2 years her senior. A noble son with a long history. Their families were inseparable. Now he serves as a prestigious knight under the Emperor's direct command. Jill strokes her hair softly, his eyes filled with overwhelming relief. But his gaze darkens. He confesses that his entire existence would be hollow without her. She smiles, remembering his lifelong protection. He blushes, revealing he became a knight solely for her sake. He shares his triumph. After this expedition, a new title and glory will finally be his. Stella is overjoyed. She reflexively grasps his hands to celebrate his hard-won success. Then, the air shifts. Jill holds her hands tight and suddenly asks for her hand in marriage. He begins to stammer, his heart laid bare in a moment of pure vulnerability. Time to change clothes. Levi's cold interruption slices through the romantic atmosphere like a blade. Jill bristles instantly. Before blades are drawn, Stella introduces Levi as her new personal butler. Levi whispers a sharp warning to Jill. Approaching a lady before she dresses is forbidden. Jill fumes, claiming childhood privilege. Levi isn't impressed. He insists she change now, ushering her away and slamming the curtains shut in Jill's face. You really act the part, Stella notes. Levi reminds her. He's had centuries of practice. The chill returns. He is a grim reaper. What terrifying powers does he truly possess? From behind the silk, Jill's voice drifts in. Think it over, Stella. Think about us. She opens her mouth to demand answers. But Levi seizes her. Time's up, he declares, claiming her lips in a sudden, breathtaking kiss. Shock surges through her. She tries to push him away, but the Reaper is an immovable mountain. Jill senses the silence and calls out. Stella finally shoves Levi back, gasping for air. Get it together, Stella. Later, over tea, Jill enthusiastically recounts his tales of battle and glory. But Stella's mind is a whirlwind. That kiss. What was the Reaper trying to take? Jill notices her distance, fearing she's still ill. She quickly masks her inner chaos with an apology. Jill's voice turns heavy. He pleads with her to seriously consider his proposal of marriage. Stunned into silence, Stella watches as a blushing Jill makes a hasty exit. The cold reality sinks in. Stella made a deal with death for 3 years of borrowed time. But is 3 years enough to save her legacy? In the Ragmare Empire, bloodlines are law. The eldest always holds the crown of inheritance. If the heir falls, it passes to the next in line or the spouse. Her father played his hand. He adopted her half-sister, Tiara, placing her right behind Stella. 3 years to win or lose everything. The clock on her life is already ticking down. Her stepmother and Tiara are plotting to steal her inheritance. To fight back, Stella vows to find a husband and secure her legacy within 3 years. That confession was a wake-up call. It made her realize exactly how much she needs a powerful husband by her side. Even Levi is stunned by our heroine's density. Jill already confessed his feelings, yet she remains completely oblivious. Levi just sighs and looks away. "Fine, do whatever you want," he mutters, clearly unable to say no to her. The Crowley snakes are at it again. This time, they've brought back Stella's old maid to force her into submission. Today is a rare treat for Stella. She's finally enjoying her very first boat trip, basking in the sun and sea. And look who's back. Emma, the loyal maid who's been with Stella since she was a child, has finally returned. Emma adored Stella, but Morgana fired her the moment the count passed. Stella is absolutely overjoyed to see her again. But when Emma's brother is mentioned, she turns pale. It seems his life depends on medicine only the Crowleys provide. As Emma pours the tea, Levi notices her trembling. He insists on taking the first sip to ensure Stella's safety. "Blood sprays from Levi's mouth. This isn't just poison," he warns. "It's so lethal that a single drop would kill any mortal instantly." Stella is frozen in horror as Emma tries to flee, screaming that Levi is a terrifying monster. Levi's dark vines snare the maid instantly. Stella begs him to stop, but Levi is annoyed he just saved her life. With a cold, heartless gaze, he allows Emma to plummet into the freezing lake below. But Stella still trusts her friend. Refusing to let her drown, she dives into the dark water to save Emma. Levi is completely stunned. He believed humans were selfish creatures who only knew betrayal. Yet here is Stella, risking her life for a traitor. She struggles against the tangled vines, but as she swims for the surface, the plants drag her back down. With her last ounce of strength, she pushes Emma to safety, before slowly sinking into the cold, silent abyss. Emma gasps for air and tells Levi about Stella. With a sharp click of his tongue, he dives in. This definitely wasn't in the contract. He gives her a life-saving kiss underwater. Is this a rescue or a romance? It's a hauntingly beautiful scene. Stella wakes up to see Emma safe by her side. She weeps tears of pure joy, grateful her friend survived. Emma is drowning in guilt and apologies, but Stella just smiles. She knows there must be a reason for the betrayal. The truth is revealed. Morgana and Tiara threatened her brother. If she didn't kill them, the boy would die. Emma loved her lady, but she couldn't lose her only brother. The choice was tearing her soul apart. Stella finally understands the tragedy. She comforts the girl, whispering that none of this was her fault. Emma vows to stay by Stella's side forever. Her kindness is so pure, it's almost hard to believe she's human. I'd still be careful, though. Personally, I could never trust someone who tried to poison my tea. Levi erased Emma's traumatic memories, then confronted Stella. "Why save someone who tried to murder you?" Stella looks at him with unwavering faith. "I believe in people," she says, "in Emma and in you." Levi can only scoff. "Imagine putting your trust in the god of death." Stella teases that their kiss wasn't part of the deal. Her warm smile makes the Reaper turn away in embarrassment. The husband hunt is officially on. Emma is determined to find the perfect man for her lady. They scan the list for the upcoming ball. Emma is curious what exactly is Stella's type in a man. Stella hasn't thought much about romance, but she definitely has a few requirements for her future partner. First, he needs enough power to protect her family's legacy. He must be at least a count or higher. Most importantly, he must be a faithful man, someone who will love and protect their future children with his life. With high hopes and a racing heart, Stella prepares for the ball. Will she meet her destiny tonight? Meanwhile, Tiara is seething. Seeing Stella's influence grow makes her feel cornered and incredibly threatened. Her mother just smirks. They're plotting a new trap for the ball. But no scheme can stop a woman protected by death himself. The night of the gala arrives, and Stella looks divine. Beside her, Levi is every bit the dark, handsome prince. My heart, these two look absolutely stunning together, a match made in the heavens, or perhaps the underworld. Her first public appearance since surviving that deadly illness, her beauty left the entire crowd breathless. But Stella had a mission. She was hunting for a husband to secure her future at any cost. Men swarmed her like moths to a flame. Stella welcomed the attention, ready to begin her cold interrogation. Dramatic music. She whipped out her notebook, grilling suitors until they fled in absolute terror from her intense questioning. Undeterred, she targeted her next victim, but her butler Levi stepped in before she caused a scene. He questioned her grasp on romance. Stella confidently claimed she was a master of the heart, entirely based on the dry books she had memorized. Levi could only sigh in deep exhaustion. Laughter. Frustrated by the lack of worthy candidates, Stella escaped the suffocating ballroom to find some fresh air. In the shadows, she stumbled upon a couple's secret tryst, and the man caught her watching them. Music. Her heart hammered against her ribs as heat flushed her cheeks. She tried to vanish from the spot. Suddenly, he cornered her. "Peeping is a dangerous habit," he whispered, sending shivers down her spine. With a predatory smirk, he leaned in closer, asking if she had an appetite for a private performance. He saw her confusion and decided to make his scandalous offer even clearer to her. If she wanted a real show, he could provide a kiss far more intense than any scene. "I only kiss my true love," Stella snapped, turning her back on the mysterious, dangerous rogue. Drained from the encounter, she retreated to the dance floor, hoping for a moment of peace. Just then, the herald announced the grand entrance of Prince 𝒖𝒓𝒂𝒑𝒆𝒓, the Empire's third son. Her jaw dropped. The prince was the same playboy she had just rejected. The entire room fell silent. Regret washed over her. She had just insulted the most powerful man in the room. This was bad. Levi noticed her pale face and teased her. Stella vehemently denied having any interest in the prince. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "It was Jill!" He rushed over, wishing he could have been her escort. She gestured to Levi, and Jill's expression instantly soured. The rivalry between them was practically electric. Jill confessed he was only there because his parents were forcing him into an arranged marriage. Music, Stella revealed she was also searching for a partner. Jill's world nearly crumbled right there. As Stella turned to leave, Jill grabbed her hand, his face glowing a deep, panicked crimson. Time stood still. In that breathless moment, his heart was practically screaming out for her attention. Stuttering, Jill managed to ask if she would honor him with her very first dance of the night. She agreed, and a sweet, radiant smile broke across his face as he led her away. On the floor, the once confident knight became a nervous wreck under Stella's innocent, searching gaze. Thankfully, Levi's harsh training had made her a surprisingly graceful dancer despite her long isolation. Seeing Jill's confidence waver, Stella whispered, "Let's not let this beautiful night go to waste." "No one is watching our mistakes," she reassured him. Jill felt all his anxiety melt away instantly. He swept her into the air, her laughter ringing out like bells across the crowded hall. That single smile was all it took for him to fall for her all over again. Music? He had loved her for 10 long years, training his soul to become a knight worthy of her. He carried a hidden ring through every bloody battle, praying for the day he could give it to her. He realized now that she was oblivious to his devotion. He had been far too cautious. He thought her illness-bound world made him her only option. Music. He was dead wrong. The world was opening for her now, but he vowed to let no one steal his place.
Tại sao họ lại làm cho lá cờ xanh trông như vậy? Tôi đã cảm nhận được nỗi đau này.
To the crowd, they were a charming pair. Only Levi watched them from the corner with piercing eyes. The music died down. Stella thanked him, her eyes bright with a newfound, dangerous confidence. She was ready to find her husband. Jill could only stare, his heart sinking in silent, desperate panic. Jill stepped close, his eyes searching hers as he asked if he was truly worthy. Before Stella could find her voice, Levi cut in like a blade, mocking Jill for embarrassing the young lady. Jill seethed with humiliation, resenting a mere butler who dared to forget his lowly station. Stella tried to mediate, but the Reaper simply took her hand to lead a new dance. He swept her toward the moonlit garden while she struggled against his iron grip. Releasing her, he scolded her mercilessly for wasting the dancing lessons he had painstakingly provided. His fingers brushed her hair as he offered a mocking bit of charity. He promised to teach his hopeless pupil again, hiding a jealous fire he barely understood. They waltzed together under the cold, silver light of the moon. Stella felt the absurdity of dancing with death, yet his grace was undeniably breathtaking. Levi boasted of his perfection while teasing her, asking if she felt ashamed of Jill's touch. She only beamed in response, admitting that she had genuinely enjoyed her time with Jill. His brow darkened as a storm of irritation flickered in his eyes. He grumbled that Jill was far too bold for someone who couldn't even dance. When she questioned his sudden cruelty toward Jill, the Reaper's patience finally snapped. He spun her into his chest, declaring that no real man invites a lady without skill. She asked if he was angry, a thought the powerful god of death found utterly ridiculous. Desperate to understand him, she finally threatened to return to Jill's side instead. That was the breaking point. Levi yanked her close for a sudden, stolen kiss. Unbeknownst to them, Prince Zane watched from above, noting Stella was no innocent flower. Breathless and panicked, Stella pushed him away, scanning the shadows for witnesses. While she spiraled in fear, Levi simply shrugged, confident he could erase any witness. He vanished like a phantom, leaving her to wonder if their bond was tainting her soul. High above, the prince's grin widened, savoring the scandalous secret he had just uncovered. With no suitors found, they decided to retreat into the safety of the night. The carriage driver greeted her with a smile that felt jagged and wrong. They exchanged a knowing glance. After all, what is a mortal trap to a reaper? Despite the lingering dread, they stepped into the belly of the waiting carriage. The driver was a puppet for the cockroaches, steering them toward a den of assassins. He chuckled to himself, believing he had outsmarted the young lady and her servant. But terror struck as the carriage accelerated, hurtling uncontrollably toward a jagged cliffside. He realized too late that Morgana had betrayed him. He was a sacrificial pawn. Falling into the abyss, he saw two silhouettes and mistook them for divine guides. It wasn't heaven, but a god of death and his muse watching his spectacular descent. Awakening at the bottom, the driver shrieked in terror, begging for a life already lost. Levi's vines bound him tight as the queen demanded the name of his master. Moments earlier, while the carriage lunged toward the edge, they sat in eerie silence, Levi waiting to see how his lady would play her hand. She offered a dark smile, knowing exactly how to command the monster beside her. Now, on the precipice, Stella's eyes burned with a terrifying, lethal intensity. The man trembled. In this light, she looked more like death than Levi did. The scent of Morgana's treachery was thick, a predictable move from a desperate snake. Broken by fear, he confessed the truth. An ambush of killers was waiting ahead. He realized the bitter truth. Morgana's plan always included his own bloody end. Stella was haunted by memories of her father's tragic carriage accident from 1 year ago. She stared in disbelief, realizing his death might have been Morgana's wicked scheme all along. Lost in thought, she's startled when Levi demands to finish off the coachman once and for all. Dark vines began to coil, ready to crush the life out of the terrified driver. But Stella intervened again, choosing mercy over blood, much to the Reaper's growing frustration. She stood her ground, whispering that this wasn't for the driver, it was for him. With a heavy heart, she warned that stealing lives would only leave his own soul in ruins. Levi was shaken. As the god of death, he had reaped countless souls without a second thought. Yet here was this girl, more worried about his humanity than her own safety. Calling her strange, the Reaper finally gave in and erased the man's memories instead. Overjoyed, Stella showered him with praise and gave the terrifying entity a gentle head pat. The cold Reaper actually blushed, flustered by the unexpected warmth of her touch. He pulled away, masking his embarrassment by claiming he only obeyed to clear the heavy atmosphere. A cold narcissist and a warm empath, what a dangerously charming duo they make. Meanwhile, Tiara was throwing a tantrum to her mother about Prince Zane's cold indifference. But she found Morgana in a manic rage, brutally stabbing a pillow in place of her enemies. Morgana hissed with spite. Stella was still breathing, and her perfect plans were falling apart. Tiara noted the shift in Stella's behavior since the new butler's arrival, and Morgana sensed it too. There was something sinister about that butler. I can't wait to see him unleash his true power. Later in the garden, Stella confessed her dark suspicions about her father's murder to Levi. Heartbeat, she realized she couldn't wait for her inheritance to kick those two venomous snakes out of her home. Levi sighed, offering a simple Reaper's solution. Just let him stop their hearts permanently. Stella immediately declined, reminding him that murder is still very much illegal for humans. While our handsome Reaper sulked in boredom, Tiara spotted Prince Zane approaching the estate. She rushed toward him, convinced the prince had traveled all this way just to see her. Her delusions are honestly reaching embarrassing new heights at this point. But the prince's smile faded as he revealed he was actually here for Stella. "And who might you be?" he asked coldly. Ouch, talk about a legendary burn. Emma scrambled to the garden to announce the guest, leaving Stella confused by her maid's panic. Then, the reason stepped into view. It was Prince Zane himself. He greeted her with a dazzling smile, leaving our heroine completely caught off guard. Behind him stood Jill, looking sharp on duty. My 3 favorites, all in one place. It's getting harder and harder to choose a favorite among these visuals. Once settled, Stella apologized for her behavior, not knowing His Highness was the 3rd prince. She used her long recovery as an excuse for her lack of royal etiquette. The prince smirked, calling her a sleeping beauty, making both Stella and Levi cringe in disgust. Even Jill let out a startled shout before quickly covering his own mouth in horror. Stella politely noted that unannounced visits weren't exactly proper, noble conduct. Claiming she felt faint, she tried to escape, clearly seeing through his princely charms. But Zane wouldn't let her go so easily, insisting on staying for just 1 cup of tea. He ordered our humble butler to serve him, but Levi's icy glare said otherwise. The air turned cold as the Reaper and the prince locked eyes in a silent battle. Fearing a diplomatic disaster, Stella begged Levi to just brew the tea and keep the peace. Levi obeyed, and after one sip, the prince dropped a bombshell. He was proposing to Stella. "You aren't a match for Our Lady, but that crimson? It's quite striking. I approve." Jill wears her heart on her sleeve. Look at this poor fool, he's utterly shell-shocked. Even Levi, the silent watcher, is stunned by this sudden proposal. But Stella remains unfazed, dismissing it as a royal prank. She points out the obvious, with suitors flocking to him. Why would he choose her? Prince Zayn knows he's a heartthrob. But this notorious flirt isn't the type for long-term vows. The shocking condition? His partner must never love him. A cold deal that stuns the room. With a sly grin, he demands a high-born bride with a prestigious lineage. She must be beautiful, a role Stella plays perfectly. He only wants a hollow contract marriage. He doesn't care if she keeps a secret toy, bluntly mocking Levi's presence by her side. The prince prattles on about the glory of contract weddings, claiming they offer ultimate freedom. Stella has heard enough. Slamming the table, she stands tall and rejects his absurd offer. A fake marriage and the chains of royalty? That is a fate she refuses to accept. Her defiance only amuses him. Prince Zayn chuckles, finding her spirit absolutely intoxicating. The sun begins to set, and fortunately for her, Zayn finally retreats. Stella bids him a polite farewell, praying their paths never cross again. The prince just smiles, stalking toward the girl with a predatory grace. His eyes burn with determination. Leaning in, he steals a kiss, leaving her frozen in shock. He departs with an innocent grin. Jill frantically wipes her cheek, terrified the prince is still watching. The boy keeps wiping, making Zayn suspect Stella is playing both her butler and her knight. He truly believes that Stella is a hidden femme fatale, masking her true self behind that pure face. How could anyone misread such innocence? But one morning, Stella's destiny shifts again. A summons from Zayn arrives. She tries to feign illness, desperate to avoid his gaze. She swore to stay away until she hears the location, the forbidden Azure Gem Archives. A sanctuary for the elite. Her excitement peaks, she will go, no matter the risk. But there is one dark condition. The invitation demands she enters the archives alone, without any protection. She turns to Levi, begging the Reaper to follow in the shadows and guard her life. Stella enters the Azure Archives and is immediately lost in a labyrinth of ancient scrolls. She offers a formal bow, thanking the prince for this rare, scholarly gift. Browsing the shelves, Stella uncovers a rare manuscript. Zayn is stunned by her mastery of ancient tongues. He offers a deeper text on forbidden flora, catching her completely by surprise. She wonders, has this playful prince already mastered these secret arts? He smiles warmly, revealing this library is his true home. He hands her the tome to read. She's amazed. These flowers can heal souls, and this grass can revive a dead wasteland. If these mythical plants were cultivated, they could save every dying village. Zayn reveals he's already petitioned the royal court. Wait, am I actually starting to like this guy? Stella realizes his playboy mask hides a man living in the shadow of his brothers. His brilliance is real. She admits she prefers this sincere man, making his face light up. Unease creeps in. She tries to retract her words, but he challenges her to show her true self. He leans closer, demanding the truth. Who is she truly serious about? The butler or Lancaster? Stella shuts him down. She insists he's misunderstood everything, there is no romance here. Zayn shifts gears, returning to his proposal with relentless royal pressure. He claims it's for her benefit. If she joins the royal bloodline, her power will be absolute. Marriage was a small price for the public's blessing, and he vowed to overlook her scandals, no matter how stained her reputation became. Just as Stella prepared to voice her mind, Prince Zayn cut her off with arrogant timing. He pushed for a fleeting romance, free from royal shackles. Stella countered with chilling gravity, questioning his delusional assumptions. Her firm refusal only stoked his amusement, drawing a mocking laugh from the prince. Trapping her against the shelves, he tilted her chin, whispering for her to drop the act and be honest. Truly, sir, she is the most untainted soul I have ever encountered. Levi watched from the shadows, his blood boiling until he retreated. Stella slammed a book between them, ordering the prince to cease his games. He merely smirked, finding her fiery indignation unexpectedly charming. His nonchalance only fueled the fires of her irritation. Raising her voice, she demanded to be heard. Zayn countered, demanding why a mere butler held keys he was denied. Panic seized Stella. Had he witnessed that forbidden kiss with Levi during the moonlit ball? She realized then that Zayn had spiraled into a total misunderstanding of the truth. As she opened her mouth, he silenced her with a finger to her lips. Footsteps echoed as two men approached, gossiping about the prince's reckless reputation. The blonde noble sneered, mentioning Zayn's suspicious frequency at the Azure Gem Archives. He scoffed, betting the third prince only used the library as a stage for his latest conquests. His companion agreed, calling Zayn a hollow royal disgrace whose brain couldn't hold a single drop of wisdom. Their mockery was cut short as Stella's patience finally snapped. Stepping out, she confronted them, demanding a full retraction of their vile insults. Stella stood her ground, declaring with unwavering conviction that despite his playboy facade, Prince Zayn was no stain on the royal bloodline. She questioned their blindness, especially as men who served directly under his banner. Enraged, the men snarled, labeling her an insolent brat who dared challenge her betters. As they loomed over her threateningly, Zayn stepped into the light, his lethal smile turning their bravado into pathetic stutters. Watching them tremble in his presence, Zayn coolly told them to relax, feigning mercy for their blatant disrespect toward the crown. But his gaze hardened as he promised a much darker fate next time, sending them fleeing in terror. Turning to Stella, he teased that she should have let the fools speak their piece. Stella snapped that her defense wasn't for him, but against anyone who dared trample upon the sanctity of knowledge itself. Leaving him speechless, she bowed curtly and vanished into the stacks. Pausing one last time, she delivered her final verdict. The contract marriage was officially rejected. A desperate laugh escaped him. The predator had finally become the prey of love. Days bled into each other, and Levi's mood remained shrouded in a cold, suffocating gloom. He had abandoned her to her own devices, sparking a gnawing worry in her heart that something was deeply wrong. Yet, he remained an impenetrable fortress of silence. Beyond his temper, Stella's true crisis was the lack of contact. She was starving for the life energy only his kiss could provide. She sensed the urgency, but the jealous Reaper merely shrugged her off with a freezing glare. Under the glow of the Star Lantern Festival, Stella and Emma were joined by their brooding Grim Reaper. Stella beamed with childlike wonder, finally tasting freedom after her long, agonizing confinement to a sickbed. As they darted between colorful stalls, Stella's cheerful calls were met only by Levi's heavy, reluctant sighs. She couldn't help but wonder what dark thoughts were swirling behind his icy gaze. Despite the joy, her heart was heavy with dread without his touch. Her life force replenishment was in grave danger. She prayed the festive magic would finally thaw the ice around his heart. Suddenly, a vibrant green bracelet caught her eye, the perfect tribute for her silent protector. She lingered over the charm, hoping a simple token of affection might break his dark spell. The vendor beamed, whispering that such a gift would bind her and her lover together in an eternal, unbreakable bond. Stella's face flushed so crimson the vendor mistook them for a couple, while Levi sneered with his usual arrogance. He coldly declared that a man of his legendary stature would never associate with a woman like her. Mockingly, he suggested she save the trinket for a future husband if any man could endure such a brat. Rage flared within her, yet she suppressed the fire. To succeed today, she had to endure his insufferable ego. Swallowing her pride, she walked on, desperately trying to steady her heart and find a way to please him. They wandered until she spotted a sweet stall, offering him cotton candy as a silent plea for his favor. With a look of adorable sorrow, she offered the treat, her heart trembling at the thought of his rejection. His icy gaze softened as he suddenly grabbed her hand, taking a bold bite of the fluffy sugar clouds. Wiping his lips, he admitted it wasn't half bad, a rare spark of approval that made her spirit soar. The tension shifted as Stella bravely asked for a kiss, her blue hair glowing like silk under the lanterns. Levi was mesmerized by her radiant beauty. He leaned in close, his breath ghosting against her trembling lips, only to playfully whisper that she should take the initiative and do it herself. Mortified and burning with embarrassment, she shoved him away and fled, screaming insults at the arrogant jerk. Amidst the crowd, she spotted Jill, who was holding the very emerald bracelet she had coveted earlier. It seemed he was on a royal inspection with Prince Zayn, stealing a brief moment of rest from duty. His brow furrowed with concern seeing her alone, questioning why her shadow-like butler had vanished. The memory of Levi's teasing made her pout. Coldly, she claimed the man was probably slacking off somewhere. Sensing his chance, Jill seized her hand with a warm smile, promising to show her a hidden, magical world. He led her to a crystal lake reflecting a sea of stars, a sight so breathtaking Stella stood frozen. Jill watched her glow, but the real masterpiece was coming. Suddenly, hundreds of lanterns ascended into the heavens. This ethereal moment etched itself into Stella's soul, a memory of pure magic she'd never forget. It felt like a dream. Beside her, Jill watched her instead of the sky, relieved to see her smile return. He is truly the perfect gentleman, a heart of gold compared to the cold shadow of her butler. One look at her face told him she was troubled, and he suspected that man was the cause again. Her radiant smile was all he desired, yet he craved to witness every hidden, vulnerable side of her soul. Jealousy burned within him, knowing Levi was the only one who could truly stir her heart's rhythm. Stella was blossoming into a legend, and even the prince's gaze was now fixed upon her newfound grace. Fear gripped him. If he didn't act soon, someone more powerful would surely steal the place by her side. Stella confessed her spat with Levi, but thanked Jill for healing her heart with such a magnificent view. She admitted that since they were children, Jill had always been her hero, rescuing her from every storm. She sighed, wishing Levi possessed even a fraction of the kindness that radiated from Jill's gentle heart. But his reaction was chilling. He confessed he wasn't the saint she believed him to be, leaving her dazed. His voice dropped with possessive jealousy, admitting he hated her seeing other men and longed to hold her. He closed the distance, his eyes burning with a desperate hunger to be the only man in her world. Entwining his fingers with hers, he pressed his forehead against hers, forcing her to see his raw desire. Overwhelmed by the sudden intensity, Stella panicked and bolted, using a meeting with Emma as a frantic excuse. Her shock was palpable. It was the first time she had seen the predatory side of her childhood friend. Jill had finally cast aside his mask, and the hunt for her heart had truly begun. Meanwhile, Morgana sipped her wine with a lethal smirk, celebrating Stella's final night on this earth. Having tracked the girl to the Star Lantern Festival, she knew her prey was finally cornered. A wicked laugh escaped her. Her perfect plan to kidnap and eliminate Stella was finally in motion. The entire estate would soon be hers. It was all falling into place with terrifying ease. Stella ran through the city, her mind a chaotic storm of Jill's confession and her own confusion. Disoriented, she stumbled into a trap. A shadow lunged from the darkness, a cloth pressing against her face. The sedative acted instantly. As the world faded to black, the nightmare she feared had finally begun. Jill's patrol halts as she spots Levi, demanding answers for Stella's recurring tears. Levi merely smirks, radiating an insufferable, smug arrogance. He claims he is the victim, fueling Jill's rage toward this eerily divine butler. Despite the mystery, he remains a permanent shadow by Stella's side. A calculated move to ensnare her absolute devotion and trust. Jill senses a predator toying with Stella's soul. Is he human, or something far darker? Truth is, Levi is a bored Grim Reaper, playing hooky from death itself. Panic strikes as Emma reveals the unthinkable. Stella has vanished into thin air. Only a broken hairpin remains. While Levi tracks her with supernatural calm, Emma fears the worst. Jill discovers the sinister Morgana has been relentlessly hunting their lady like prey. Without a word, the Reaper fades into the growing shadows. Stella awakes in a cold dungeon, met by Morgana's chilling, triumphal laughter. Crimson stains her lips as the terrifying price of her survival takes its toll. Bound in heavy iron, Stella realizes Morgana's cruelty knows no bounds. Seeing her prey so fragile, the witch savors the impending end. "I'll return tomorrow," Morgana sneers, "to admire your beautiful, lifeless corpse." A true monster. Even as Stella chokes on blood, her spirit remains unbroken. She fears the Crowley legacy falling into wicked hands. "Heaven, let me live," she pleads. Jill bows desperately before Prince Zane, begging for the chance to save his missing friend. To Jill's shock, the prince already knows Stella is the one in peril. He rises, questioning if a lone knight can challenge such a devious shadow. Morgana's malice is deep. Jill trembles, realizing the prince has seen through the entire conspiracy. A cold smile plays on his lips. He investigates everything that piques his interest. With brilliant precision, Zane unfurls a map to pinpoint her secret prison. "Love is a weak shield," he warns Jill. "It cannot stop a blade." Those words sting. As Stella fades, a familiar shadow appears at her window. In her delirium, she wonders if this is a final, beautiful dream. Levi's eyes burn. "Don't you dare die yet," he commands, unleashing his forbidden power. The royal guard descends upon the manor, led by a deadly, serious prince. Steel clashes in the courtyard as Zane and Jill slip into the lion's den. Morgana pales, witnessing her fortress crumble under the sudden royal assault. Terror takes hold. Had her dark secrets finally clawed their way to light? Her heart stops. Those soldiers bear the sacred crest of the royal family. Why would the crown move for a girl? Regardless, the walls are closing in. The witch flees. Meanwhile, our heroes charge toward the highest tower. Driven by desperate hearts, both rivals race to reach her first. Jill collapses, cradling Stella's limp form. Zane sighs, noting she's merely slipped into darkness. Relief is short-lived. Zane notices the shackles are gone. Someone else was here. Momentarily, the knights seize Morgana. She stammers, desperately spinning a web of pathetic lies. Zane's gaze turns sub-zero. "Did I give you permission to speak, worm?" Speak only when commanded, he orders with bone-chilling authority. He demands the truth of her greed. Morgana feigns innocence, claiming she was healing Stella. Healing? Really? Do you think chains and a cold dungeon count as medical treatment, you witch? Zane's blade tasted Morgana's skin, a final judgment for her arrogance and treason. For targeting his bride-to-be, she's dragged to the darkness of the dungeon, screaming in vain. Music, hey Stella. Jill saw it now. The prince's love wasn't a game, it was a consuming, terrifying obsession. Outside the manor walls, as Jill held her, Zane's words cut deep. A man without rank is powerless against noble cruelty. Claiming the Crowley throne would only lead Stella toward a bloody end. The harsh truth remains, power is the only shield that can truly save her. With a lingering kiss on her hair, the prince claimed her and vanished. Jill stood paralyzed, crushed by the weight of his own total failure. Survival was bought only by the prince's dangerous and absolute devotion, music. Realizing your own insignificance is a soul-crushing price for a knight's loyalty. Today's chapter ends. Your thoughts? Like, comment, and subscribe for more. Hit that bell so you never miss an update. See ya!